Nigeria has a lot of sporting talents that ordinarily should make statements in any competition at all over the world, if not for anything, but for the sheer number of Nigeria as a country and, of course, our people. However, preparations for competitions are often fraught with irregularities. And so how are these taxpayers' money being allocated to sporting activities being expended? The athletes, are they getting treated well to give us the desired results as a country? And are you happy with the performance of Nigeria at the 2024 Olympics and Paralympics? Well, these and more are the questions that will be answered in the course of this program as we look at just one sport that gave not only Nigeria but the African continent her very first medal at the just concluded Olympics and Paralympics as we look ahead to 2028. My name is Leah Katung-Babatunde, and it's nice to have you join me on this sporting edition of The Policy with Leah. We kick off the business of the day from the trends table.
The Federation Accounts Allocation Committee (FAC) has shared a total sum of 1.411 trillion naira, being October 2024 Federation accounts revenue to the federal government, states and local government councils at its November 2024 meeting, which held in Bauchi State, after the National Council on Finance and Economic Development (NACOFED). Bawa Makwa, Director, Press and Public Relations to the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, in a statement disclosed that the meeting was chaired by the Accountant General of the Federation, Dr. Oluwatoyin Madain. The 1.411 trillion naira total distributable revenue comprised distributable statutory revenue of 206.319 billion naira, distributable value-added tax VAT revenue of 622.312 billion naira, electronic money transfer levy EMTL revenue of 17.111 billion naira, and exchange difference revenue of 566 billion naira. The National Assembly has granted approval to President Bola Tinubu's request to allow for a fresh external $2.2 billion borrowing to finance the 2024 budget deficit. The deficit is estimated at 9.17 trillion naira. President Tinubu had earlier explained in his request that it is in line with the provisions of the 2024 Appropriation Act, as well as Sections 21 and 27 of the Debt Management Office Establishment Act 2023, and has been approved by the Federal Executive Council (FEC). The request outlined indicative terms and conditions, including a proposal to issue an Eurobond worth at least $1.7 billion, but not exceeding $2.2 billion. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited (NNPCL) has introduced its latest crude oil grade, the Utapati crude oil blend, to the international market. Chief Corporate Communications Officer to the company, Olufemi Shune, in a statement, announced that it was showcased before a large gathering of European crude oil marketers at the August European Crude Conference in London, England. He disclosed that NNPCL intends to increase the output of the reduced carbon Utapati crude oil blend extracted from the Utapati field in oil mining lease 13 located at Akwa Ibom State to 80,000 barrels per day by the end of 2025. The Senate has asked President Bola Tinubu to sack Danladi Umar as chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal (CCT) over allegations of corruption and misconduct. It adopted its resolution during the plenary after Senate President Godswill Akpabio put it to vote, and a majority of the senators supported it. Senate Leader Okwayemi Bamidele, who supported the motion calling for Mr. Umar's removal from the office, said the Senate has received several petitions and allegations of corruption and misconduct against Mr. Umar, who refused to appear for questioning. President Tinubu had in July appointed Mainasara Kogo as new CCT chair to take over from Umar, who was appointed in 2011, but Kogo is yet to assume office. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission (FCCPC) has raised alarm over the circulation of substandard and unregistered sugar products in Nigerian markets. FCCPC, in a press release, stated that the smuggled brands, mainly from Brazil, failed to meet mandatory vitamin A fortification requirements, posing significant health risks and economic threats. It identified 5 major brand culprits adding that these products lacked essential labeling, including production and expiry dates, batch numbers, and NAFDAC registration.
Late and poor preparations have often characterized Nigeria's road to all competitions in the sporting arena, and so we're sure that it is always a case of wash, rinse and repeat. But do we continue on that path? Well, would that be different as well in 2028? Let's find it out in this conversation. Nigeria went to the Olympics in Paris and returned with only the Paralympian making podium finishes. And one of such sports is one that has never happened before on the African continent, where badminton's Eniola returned with a medal, and she made that a finish for Africa and Nigeria. But of course, after the Olympics, what next? We'll be answering these questions in a short while, and I have joining me Mr. Francis Orbih. He's the president of the Badminton Federation of Nigeria, and he joins me to examine how they got to Paris and the what next. It's nice to have you join me for this conversation.
Thank you, Leah, for having me.
Thank you. Tell me, for starters, what does that medal mean to Nigeria and Africa?
Well, I would say that that medal was historic. Like you rightly said, no African had done that before now. And it was quite, I don't know how to describe it. For the president of the Badminton Federation of Africa, you know, I was in Lagos because I had gone for the Olympics and I came back to prepare for the Lagos International. So, but I was following up all the matches, and the moment she won, he was the first to call me and he was screaming, "Africa did it, Africa did it." So at that point, I mean, it dawned on me that Eniola was no longer a Nigerian, but an African. You know, the whole continent had taken ownership. And so it just made me realize, you know, how enormous that achievement was, how huge it was, as a matter of fact. So I will confess that before she went for the Paralympics, everybody was looking up to her to come home with a medal. I was confident she was going to win the gold medal. She ended up with a bronze, so we all called it the golden bronze. It meant a whole lot to us because no African had done it. It was almost like, oh, no African could win a medal, be it at the Olympics or the Paralympics. Not just that, we always go there and we get beaten very badly. In badminton, 21-2, 21-5, we never win any match or any game, and we lose in the first round. We've never gone beyond the first round. So for us to go there and then have a podium performance, I mean, it was huge. I will tell you that I felt it was like out of the world for me. I just kept thinking and reflecting on the effort. I know what we went through for her to be able to qualify. You know, she didn't qualify by ranking. It was a wild card because of her performance. We didn't play enough, but because all the ones she played, she won all. She had beaten, in fact, even the world number one, she had beaten her before the Olympics. But you know, the truth was she didn't have enough exposure. She didn't play enough competitions because the more you play, the better you get. So, but with the little she played, she was still able to do that. So it meant a whole lot to us as a country and as a continent.
Okay, I'm going to pick it from the last line. The more you play, the better you get. Mm-hmm. What is the typical preparation for Olympics like?
This last Olympics was an experience for me. We always talk, oh, preparation should be earlier, people should start early, you know, but in Nigeria, most times 6 months to the Olympics is when, I mean, this last one, it was barely less than 2 months preparation because we had 3 weeks camping in Nigeria, 2 weeks camping in Germany, and from Germany to Paris. I share my experience with people. I was at the Olympics and I met in the hotel I stayed, there was this young Danish team, I think, and they came for either handball or volleyball. I think maybe under 19. They didn't come for the Olympics, but they came to watch. They were brought by their country. Every evening after every day's activity, they would come. After their meals, they had a place set up for them. They would have a screen, sit down, do technical analysis of all the matches with all the players. They are preparing for 2028. I mean, so you're asking me, and then we will wait till 6 months, 4 months, 1 month, and then we jump into and we expect magic. Okay, let me give you another perspective. So, my player, Anu, who was the first Nigerian to play men's singles at the Olympics. We've never played men's singles. And he's the first Nigerian in badminton to go for 2 Olympics. Nobody has ever done it. So, part of the preparation, 2 weeks training camp in Germany. And we got there, he didn't have a training partner. I mean, that was the arrangement. I mean, there was no arrangement for a training camp partner for him, and he was going for men's singles. He went with only his coach. So who was he going to train with? So he got there. Luckily, there was this player from India, I mean, who was going for the Olympics too. She came there to the same camp. Okay, now, Anu came with his coach. The girl came with 4 players, training partners. Okay, she came with a nutritionist. She came with a psychologist. She came with a therapist. She came with a statistician. She came with about a retinue of about 7 to 8. One player. And then my player came there all alone, and he was lucky to be allowed to train with the other players who came with her. So tell me, with that, what chance do we stand? So that's why when I hear people say a lot of things sometimes, there's always no adequate preparation. And then I will tell you also, most of those players who are in the top 50 in the world, they move from one competition to the other, year in, year out. Even by now they've started. Okay, Anu finished the Olympics. Since then he has not played, not one international. He hasn't gone for any competition. His world ranking will be going down because others are playing. They are not waiting for Olympic year. It's a continuous. But here, so when you say, I mean, the ideal preparation or what should be done, I mean, it takes a lot. And I can tell you, on the journey for Anu to qualify for the Olympics, men's singles, so many decisions to make. Which competition should he go for? Which one will be better for him? Where does he stand a better chance? Is it where he will likely win and garner less amount of points, or where he will likely go, gain more experience, play against better players, and possibly improve without helping him to qualify? And then, I will tell you, also share one experience that on one of the journeys he went, Malaysia, Indonesia, and I think Bahrain, he got there, he called me one day and said that, so at some point you put him in a camp to train. He said he was the weakest player there. I mean, psychologically, you can, so sports is not about just the physical, mental, psychological, everything. So I became very worried for him. In fact, at a point, I almost gave up that he was going to be able to make the Olympics. So now here, we don't have sports psychologists. And because there are things that an athlete, a player, needs to hear at certain times.
Whose duty is that?
It's a big question. I mean, ordinarily, the ministry should make provision for such. Sports medicine, sports psychologists, nutritionists, I mean, all over. That's the support system you have as a player or as an athlete. So it's a complete package. But
now we don't have a ministry, we have a commission.
Yes,
Does
the
it
commission
still rest with the commission?
Yes, it rests with the commission. Every federation can't, we don't even have the resources. Because if you want to engage them, you have to pay. So you can't afford it. So right now, I don't even know if there's because I know, but personally, I had to make an arrangement. When we were preparing for the All Africa in Egypt, I got a former somebody I knew who used to be attached to the Super Eagles. He's one of the most renowned and known, Okosun. And I called him and begged him, and he said he would do it. He did it for free for us, and you needed to see the impact he made on our players in their preparation. I think he had about 3 sessions with them, and it was obvious, talking to them what to do when things are looking bad, how to psych yourself up in a game situation and all that. All those things are not, we take them for granted here, but I can tell you that they contribute a whole lot to determine the level of success out there.
For a lot of Nigerians, the blame goes to you two as administrators of the federations, because the Nigerian out there believes that you are not taking so much responsibility as it ought to be for the athletes. Am I correct?
How much responsibility can you take? And then I also say that there's a limit to what you can do because of, I mean, at the end of the day, it boils down to funding. The guy who ran 400 meters, I think he got to the semi-final, final, couldn't make podium. He trained in Abuja here. I knew somebody who knew him, knew his routine and everything. The tartan tracks he trained with in Abuja here, it was during Koja. That's 2001 or thereabout. The average lifespan for a tartan track is 10 years. That is over how many years now? 20-something years. And you train on that and you go and compete with people on one that is up to. You get what I'm saying? And then you go and train. The guy was making fun and said, oh, that guy go to train in the morning. When he finishes, he goes and buys puff and gets pure water, drink. In the afternoon, mama put. I mean, what you eat is not nutrition. What you are what you eat. That, I mean, so at the end of the day, if we don't pay attention to that, so how much can the federation do? How much funds do we have at our disposal? That is a big question. So if it is put on our desk that, oh, it's our responsibility, yes, but what provision is made for us to be able to achieve that? So I'm happy that, I mean, with the recent appointments in the Sports Commission, I mean, you have people who are, I mean, who have very good experience, who have been there. So we hope they'll be able to bring that experience to bear in the way forward for sports in Nigeria.
So how many training facilities do we have nationwide for badminton? Where do your athletes train?
Another critical question. So a sport that doesn't have a home, I mean, if you are homeless, then it gives you an idea of what to expect. So I can tell you today categorically that in Nigeria, there's no single badminton facility, not one. What we have are multi-purpose halls, table tennis, basketball, badminton, gymnastics, boxing, taekwondo, all of them in one. So a week that basketball has activities, badminton cannot train. Now I went to China and they took me around. I went to a badminton facility that had 22 courts under one roof. Here, even those multi-purpose halls, they can't take more than 4 or 5 courts max. But you have a place, 22 courts, 24/7 for badminton. People train there and you expect us who train in this kind of environment, how can we compete? So that's why there seems to be a huge gap, especially in badminton. I mean, I can't talk of other sports, but for badminton, I mean, if you don't have the facilities, you don't have the infrastructure, it's very difficult. It's played in a specific place under specific, conditions. And if you are not able to bring your own facility close to it, then it's you are at a disadvantage. So that's basically what it is. And if you ask me that question again, there's none. Yes, you have places like Ikoyi Club, you have badminton section, just 3 courts, but it's a private member club. Only members and their children can train there. No kid can just walk up the street and say, okay, I love badminton, I want to take it up and walk into Ikoyi Club. You can't have access. So that's what you have. A few other clubs here and there, private member clubs. And then a lot of places it's played outdoor. Badminton is not an outdoor game, it's an indoor game. So if you play outdoor, it's just for fun. You can't play competitively. It's very difficult. But I can tell you, against all odds, there are players who have been discovered who play the game outdoor and were able to go indoor and they did well.
So when you're camping for competitions, can those athletes adequately camp here or you have to take them to other countries?
So ideally, for every Olympics, for example, we normally have the local camping, then we'll go for the foreign camping before we go for the game. But I just told you that in the last Olympics, because of the late release of funds, we had only 3 weeks camping here and 2 weeks in Germany, which was grossly inadequate. So even here, okay, I remember we went, and I will share something that will amaze you, that here, a lot of times the focus is on going to compete. It's not on preparation. What do you do before you go for the competition? It's not a major focus here a lot of times. And for me, I find it it's awkward. How do you go for a competition and you expect to do well when you've not prepared well? So for me, a lot of times, like even these All-African Games we went, before the ministry called the camp, I had to pull my players to camp. We were already camping because I knew that the time, and that was because of lack of funds for them to, because if you call camp, you have to have money to put them in hotels, provide food for them and all the necessary things. And once that money is not there, you can't call them to camp. So when I saw it was dragging, I had to do something. Because if I didn't do that, they will not be able to even do as well as they did in those competitions.
Looking forward now, going to the next Olympics, the question will be, what is next for you?
Early preparation. Left to me, by now I know should have played like 2-3 competitions after the Olympics. It doesn't need to stay back and just be sitting down, you understand? So, but the funding is not there. So we are going to try to be a bit more aggressive, especially with the achievement at the last Olympics. Anu didn't win a medal, but there was something he did. I remember before we went for the Olympics, we were called for meeting, all the sports that they were going for Olympics. And after all the briefing, they were asked, okay, give us your projections. How many medals are you going to win? And I know one or two of my colleagues said, oh, we're expecting some medals, but we don't know the color. And when I was called, I said, I have to be blunt here. I don't want to come here to raise anybody's hopes. I'm managing my expectations. And I said I would do that against a certain background. Nigeria has never played in men's singles, so that we are going, for me, it's already an achievement. And then this player is the first to go for 2 Olympics, another achievement. I said what we've observed is that in the past, not just Nigeria now, African players get beaten anyhow in badminton. First round you are beaten, 21-5, 21-3. So I said what we have tried to set as a target and goal for this Olympics is to go there and compete. So I can't tell you I'm going to win a medal. Let him go there, possibly go beyond the first round, which has never been done. And then if not, let the score be a bit more, decent. Let it be more competitive, not that they beat you anyhow as if you came to carry somebody's bag there. So I said that, and we went. And his performance at the Olympics has been adjudged as the best by any African player so far in the history. He didn't win, but it was in his second match he played against the world number 6 from China, 21-17, 21-17. And when the game was over, they had 3 cuts. There were 2 other games going on simultaneously, but before they finished, everybody in the hall was focusing on their match, because that was where he played the way nobody expected an African player to play. And when he finished, the whole hall went agog. They were clapping, standing ovation for him. Kwa, 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 Nigeria. Kwa. And, at that point, I was like floating. So he was waving his racket, and anybody who came in there at that time would think that he won the match, but he lost. But then the African president came out, rushed, he took pictures with us. Malaysia, Indonesia, big badminton playing countries were coming to congratulate me. So for a few days after that, of course, I stayed till the end of the badminton event. I was going there every day, and every time I came, I was proudly wearing my Nigerian jersey and all that. And the moment the people, oh, Nigeria, congratulations, I did very well. So for me, it was a statement.
Do we have the next Anu already in making?
After Anu, who next? We must groom the next generation, people who will step into the shoes. And the only way that can happen is to have enough competitions for them to play. So we started a program some two years ago called the Shuttle Time. And it's basically for badminton at the grassroots, which is taking badminton to secondary schools. We've done it with some partner, a partner who has provided us with equipment. So we'll come out with the resource people, go there, train for some days. So we bring in players from different schools, bring in their games masters, because we teach them what to teach the children. And then at the end of the program, we donate equipment, rackets, shuttles, nets, for them to play. So, that's like planting a seed, and you hope that it will germinate, and with time, you have more people, getting interested in the game. And after a couple of years, we should be able to say, oh, this child was part of that program, and today, then we are looking at, after that age grade, under 15, under 19, that's where they should graduate to. So we need to now have competitions for them to play. So that's what we want to focus on going forward. From there, definitely, the next annuals will come.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you, Mr. Francis, for making time for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Our education segment, Simplified, is next, and from there we head to the markets. The much we can take on this episode. Don't forget to always go to our other site, which is www.marketnigeriatv.com. We have all the market details for you there. And of course, do well to go to our YouTube channel. It is at sabanmediaservices.com, and leave us your questions, comments, and suggestions, because we value your feedback to help us serve you better. Until we come your way again same time next week. Don't forget that the duty of building a working Nigeria rests in the hands of every citizen. So play your part, and God bless Nigeria.